Previously in FIA Formula 3.
That Rafa Kamara could be beaten in qualifying. The question now, could it happen again as we rolled out the pit lane for round 5 of the season in FIA Formula 3? Kamara looked under pressure, so did his teammate Charlie Wirtz, off into the gravel as the drivers were tested around this Barcelona circuit. Ugo Ugachukwu finding the limits and more in the 30-minute qualifying session, but out front it would be a record-breaking 4th pole for Rafa Kamara. Back to the front.
Rafa Kamara showed his class once again. Today you'll have to do so from 12th position in our reverse grid race in round 5 of the FIA Formula 3 Championship as we reach the halfway mark of our 2025 season. It is great to see the fans nice and early in the grandstands to watch a bit of Formula 3 sprint action, cheering on their own of Bruno Delpino and Mari Boyer. And we're going to be well, over the last 3 years, we've had Spanish winners in Formula 3 around this circuit. Are we going to continue that trend in 2025? Well, we've got 2 races to find that out. But today, it's Roman Belinsky who will go from pole position. In the commentary box, my name is Omi. Delighted to be with you. And alongside me, we've got Tom Cairns. Hi, Tom.
Yes, and an important one for Roman Belinsky, because if you remember right at the end of the qualifying session, his lap time was deleted, only for it to be reinstated by the stewards. And so he starts from reverse grid pole after qualifying 12th. So that is him there. Stenshon 2nd, and Tim Chunitz, you can see in our picture, in 3rd place. I think we're going to be in for a bit of a cracker here. There is Sandro GSD, the Frenchman, part of the Williams Academy for MP Motorsport, a track where they have gone so well in previous years in various different categories. Let's see if they can add to that here. We've got 30 cars on the grid. We're going to be in for some entertaining action. And I think there are some drivers who are somewhat out of position compared to where we predicted them to be. Let's see if they can make their way through the field.
Yeah, a dramatic qualifying session, and it did see lots of chaos. It did see lots of drivers finding themselves off the road into the gravel trap. So it was trips through the gravel for multiple drivers, meaning we do have a slightly mixed up grid already, of course, with the reverse grid being added in as well. So for the back, we have Lacorte, who starts from 30th for both races this weekend. He's alongside Gerardi, who goes from 29th. Zagazzetta will go from 28th position on the grid, and then it's Nicola Marinangeli, who's in 27th. Jesse Carrasquedo on debut goes from 26th, and the same applies to the driver alongside Jose Garfias. Ugo Ugachukwu is in 24th, Christian Ho is in 23rd position on the grid. For Dams Lucas Oil, Brando Badoa is in 22nd place. Brad Benavidez around Spain now in Formula 3 is in 21st. Bruno Delpino, home favourite, alongside the Spanish team. And the driver that's driving for them from 19th is Tassana Polenta Privatak. Charlie Wirtz is in 18th, and then it's Louis Sharp who will go from 17th place. He would have been disappointed with his qualifying session. Same applies to Callum Woyson, who's in 16th for Rodin as well. Mari Boyer, a winner here 1 year ago. Let's see what he can do from 15th. Noah Leon is the highest starting Prema. Prema won here 7 times in Formula 3. James Wharton is in 13th alongside. Rafa Kamara starts on pole tomorrow, but he's reversed down to 12th today. Nikola Solov is going to be the man alongside, chasing 6 wins. And what a win that would be to extend the record. Lawrence Van Hoopen is in 10th. Teofil Nal is in 9th position. Santiago Ramos, he's won twice so far this season. Let's see what he does from 8th. He's alongside Sandro Giusti, the Williams Jr. will be looking to move forward. Ivan Dominguez is in 6th, and then it's Noah Stromstead, the Mercedes Academy member, in 5th. Tuka Tappinen in 4th, and then it's Tim Tramanitz, who's in 3rd position on the grid. And our front row is shared by Martini Stenshon and Roman Belinsky. It's going to be a great fight down to turn number 1 with a 595-meter run from turn number from the grid spot of P1 to the first turn around this circuit. They set off on their formation lap, and the F3 sprint about to get going with within a few moments time.
Yes, so with these Formula 3 drivers, they've got the hard compound on. These are essentially sprints. There's one race that is longer than the other, hence why we have the bigger chunk of points being dished out in tomorrow's feature race. It's 21 laps for this sprint race, which they'll be contesting this morning. It's 25 laps tomorrow. So we spoke about tyre degradation and tyre management, how key it is to keep the tyres alive really throughout this one. If a safety car comes out, that is going to come to those particular drivers as aid. But if there's no safety car, if you're one of those fighting at the head of the pack against those who are, well, going for that same goal, you're going to lose tyre life. And those who are just managing the tyres, we've got interviews.
Less than a podium. I think with the race pace we've shown so far, we can be very confident, and for sure the target is to end up on the top step tomorrow, and then on Sunday there's a bit more work to do, but yeah, it seems like you have a bit less dirty air with the new cars, so the target will be for sure to finish in the top 5.
It's gonna be a lot about just staying patient. It's a long race. For sure there's gonna be some dags, so keeping everything nice and cool until the end of the race is gonna be important. So that's the goal. Of course, aiming to finish again, same like Monaco, but it's a long race, so we will see how it goes.
It'd be nice to have clear air the whole race, but you know, this is Formula 3. There's some fantastic drivers starting in this grid and around me, so you know, like I said before, I just do the best possible, and hopefully the result can be good.
That will be the hope, indeed, for Roman Belinsky, but managing the tyres will be absolutely critical, as Tom was describing to you before we had those interviews. Managing those tyres will be absolutely important, or we could see some changes later on in the race. They'll be hoping for some safety cars to help them with that. Kamara leads the championship with 77 points, Tim Traminitz with 64, and then 3 more down is Nicola Solov. That's your top 3 currently in this championship. Tuukka Tappinen is the driver who goes from 4th position. Tim Traminitz has the chance to gain some points on his rival today as we come up to the grid, and this is when the nervy moments begin for our pole sitter Roman Belinsky, who has a long run down to turn 1 to try and maintain that lead.
Yes, and Roman Motorsport on the pit wall watching on. Roman Belinsky, who did well in Monaco last weekend. Can he carry it on here in Spain and get his first win in this championship? Here is Santiago Ramos, who has won twice already this season, going for win number 3 as well. Watch out for Rafa Kamara to see if he can come through the field on a track that he knows all too well.
Yeah, we've not seen too much of Kamara making overtakes this year. It's mostly just been domination from the front. That's where he's been getting his points in the feature races. Lecorte's race from 30th can only get better from there. And let's see how he's going to be able to get on the Alpine Junior. There is a 595-meter run down to the first turn. A long way for Roman Belinsky to break the slipstream, with Stenshorn, Traminitz and also Tuukka Tappinen all closing in as we get the final cars into position now. And in FIA Formula 3, it is going to be time to go racing in Barcelona for the sprint contest. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights. And the sprint race is underway. Great reaction time off the line coming in from Tim Traminitz. He's going to attack our top 2, heading down towards turn number 1. Contact immediately further back as we make our way down towards the first corner. Belinsky has got the inside line. Can he maintain the lead late on the brakes? And that is going to be Stenshorn diving his way to the lead. 3 wide in this contact, and Stenshorn's off. Stenshorn and Belinsky go off the road, and they're into the barrier. Tim Traminitz is off the road as well. Dramatic stuff. Dominguez takes the lead out of absolutely nowhere. What a start in FIA Formula 3. Stromstead roaring up to second place, and then we've got Lawrence Van Hoopen, who's also arriving on the scene. Absolutely dramatic stuff as Kamara has been left at the back as well. We had Marin Angeli, I believe, also, who had a slow start. Dramatic start to start this race, which has Dominguez P1.
Dramatic start to the race with Stenshorn and Belinsky off the race. We've got more cars going off the road on the exit of turn 5. We'll get a safety car very, very shortly, but Dominguez taking the early lead. I don't think he would have expected that from the start, but absolute pandemonium at turns 1 and 2. Someone else had parts up at turn 3. We'll find out who that is. Safety car deployed, Domi.
I mean, we were praising these guys after Monaco when it all went wrong in Formula 2 and the Porsche Mobile 1 Supercup, but at Spain it's all started dramatically. I mentioned Kamara had issues. He was the driver whose front wing was thrown up in the air in the background. I believe Tuukka Tappinen was the staller on the grid. There was so much going on where I noticed he stalled on the grid as well momentarily from 4th position, I believe it was. And then he was left on the line, but so many retirements immediately. Stenchon and Bielinski straight off into the barrier. There's Tuukka Tappinen as he gets recovered. I wonder whether he possibly got hit off the line. Was Kamara not able to avoid him? That'll be quite interesting to see on the replays in a few moments. But to confirm your order, it's Dominguez, Stromstead, Van Hopen, Solov, Ramos, Wharton, Leon from 14th up to 7th, and then Niles, Sharp, GSD. That is one of the most dramatic starts you will see this season. The order just updating now a little bit more as everything gets going as they come across the line to begin lap number 2. But Bielinski and Stenchon, as those two now start to get out of the car, absolute pandemonium stuff down at the start of this race.
I did see a front wing fly in the air in the background as the field came down towards turn 1. I wonder if that came from Rafa Kamara's front wing when he tagged Tuukka Tappinen, who was very slow off the line from 4th on the grid. Tim Chomnitz in the gravel trap, he must have made contact with Bielinski and Stenchon, hence why he parked up. And yeah, that's very, very bizarre. So the top 4 on the grid, all out of the race, incredible. And Dominguez straight into the lead. We could well be in for a brand new winner in this series here today. And Santiago Ramos, who came through from, where did he start on the grid? I'm looking to see, started 8th on the grid, he's up to 4th position. Solov up from 11th to 5th.
I mean, this is a venue where we've seen leaders make contact. Ramos, Mega 2 made contact here last year in the sprint race. And then in 2021, we had the leaders crash twice. So Spain and Formula 3 just has leaders crashing quite a bit as we see Dominguez make his way through. But yes, a complete different order we are left with after that start, which no one would have predicted. Ugo Gachuko now in 15th, Badoa is in 16th position as well, and Pruvazak gaining a couple of positions at the same time. That was something that now the field will have to consider. We now find ourselves with Kamara making our way back into the pit lane, but after a start like that, they will definitely need to tone it down and get this race back going cleanly once everything is cleared. But that's how much damage a front wing can cause as he tries to bring it back to the pit lane very slowly. He's only just been able to get in now, and that might even be race over because you can see there's actually damage to the suspension there as well.
Yeah, you'll go no further, Kamara. That's another sprint race and another pointless score. Trident crew waiting for him, so he is another casualty from this race. 5 drivers out on the first lap here in Barcelona. Loris van Herpen is another one who made up a ton of places at the start, from 10th to 3rd. Super getaway by him. Noel Leon up into the points there, as well as Tuukka Tappinen's car being pushed back into the pit lane there, out of the way. I don't know where they are with the cars of Chomnitz, Stenchon and Bielinski. Hope that they are all cleared in a rather quick manner there, though. So they'll be a couple of laps under the safety car for sure. They are on lap 3, so this is the second lap onto the pace-up. This is a replay of the start then, so we're going to see Tuukka Tappinen get bobbed down at the start, and we expect to see a coming together. Yes, so it was Kamara that ran into the ART, and one of the Rodin Motorsport cars took evasive action to avoid the pair of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were both predicting it, and that's exactly what we risk with cars stalling on the grid. Kamara not being able to see it, with cars then all darting out of the way, and meaning that he was straight to the scene of the accident. Dramatic stuff, and that sees his race come to a close. So Tuukka Tappinen, very slow away, got going, bogged down massively, and is going to get a hit around. That's where the debris gets flying. We did see a front wing, as I mentioned, go up in the air, and that's exactly what was going on at that moment, and that's why it is never nice to see cars stalling on the grid, because you can get the first few cars going through, but someone is not going to be able to see, and that's what happened. Okay, it was a late double from Stenchon. He went wheel 2 with Traminix, and then he's all out of shape. Is Stenchon, and then he's to the scene with Roman Bielinski of the accident. So that was really tight stuff as they made their way through the opening few turns.
Yeah, so it's Chomnitz who tags the McLaren livery driver, Stenchon, which took Bielinski with him, and he got a puncher straight away from that, or the suspension was broken on the MP Motorsport car. So disaster for the top 3 and the top 4 on the grid, actually. And yeah, there you can see on the curb there, I don't know whether Stenchon didn't leave Chomnitz enough space, And Belinsky, well, he was just an innocent bystander, nothing he could do.
These guys are crazy, honestly. Honestly.
I mean,
The driver who became the first Polish driver to get on the Formula 3 podium early this year, that was in Australia. He was trying to become the first Polish winner at this level, and unfortunately today will not be the case, and he'll have to wait a little bit longer. Okay, we're taking a look at Sandro Giusti, and we're reviewing his start, as well an action-packed start for him as he was able to make his way by on Noah Stromstead, and now he's going really tight with Noah Stromstead as they went wheel to wheel down into turn number 1.
So we're going to see from his angle how the incident played out there. So Tremlitz goes into Stenchon. Stenchon takes Belinsky with him. And I think Giusti, he had to take evasive action as Tremlitz was pulling up there. So that's why Giusti lost all those places that he had made up. He would have been in second place had it not been for that. That's a poor lot there for Giusti, but I'm sure he'll do his best to make his way back through at some stage in the race. But yeah, absolute carnage at the start. And now we're going to see more drivers go through. That's one of the Road in Motorsport drivers that went wide on the exit turn 4. That's number 24. I think is that Louis Sharp that went wide on the exit there? It looked like it was Louis Sharp that went off. But yeah, Giusti just having to sit from behind. He's almost like he's boxed in there, not being able to make a move.
Yeah, so really, really tight stuff as they all made their way through this corner heading down towards turn number 7 and 8 around this circuit. But now all Rafa Kamara can do is watch on. We were talking about Louis Sharp. Well, Louis Sharp's biggest supporter is in our chat as well. Glenn, here as usual with us in Formula 3, saying what a big incident. And Sharp P11 under the yellow flags. He absolutely is at the moment. So he's going to have a good opportunity to try and gain some points as the recovery continues. And this is exactly what we were talking about, Tom. The safety car now allows them all to preserve those tyres and helps them with this managing that they're going to have to do across this race.
One driver who's benefited the most from all this is Bruno Del Pino, who started 20th. He's up to 9th position. Brilliant start by the home hero. The other driver on home turf in the field, Mari Boyer, is in 14th. I didn't quite see whether he actually gained some positions. I think he probably will have done, because all the drivers that have crashed out ahead of him were all, started ahead of him on the grid. This is Santiago Ramos then. We're going to see a on-board view of how his start played out. So he dodges his way to the right of Taftman's bob down ART, and you're going to see the battle between Stromstead and Giusti on the run down to turn 1. There's another car to the outside of Ramos, so he's another one who's boxed in at this stage. So you can just see that's Van Herpen on the outside, and you can just see Belinsky and Stenchel going up ahead, and soon enough Tremlitz goes off in front of him. Giusti has to slam on the brakes, and Ramos has now got another Red Bull Junior alongside. That'll be Nicholas Solov sneaking his way through. A respectable start from the drivers, has to be said, apart from those ended up in the wars. But that's racing for you in FIA Formula 3. It kind of reminds me of one of the very first race weekend of this championship in 2019, where we saw 4 drivers eliminated at the same spot on the opening lap, in a similar way to how Belinsky, Stenchel and Tremlitz had taken each other off.
Yeah, absolutely. That was dramatic stuff down to turn number 1 in 2019. We've had, as we mentioned, lots of dramatic moments in Formula 3. It was where we held our first ever race of this championship. It's where we held our 100th as well. We celebrated that anniversary 1 year ago. And it was an anniversary which saw Arvid Lindblad become victorious when it came to our feature race. And it was home favourite, Mari Boyer, who was the winner in our sprint. As they all continue to watch on now, Roman Belinsky is watching with the rest of us. The driver who found himself starting this race on pole, but he finds himself out. The safety car is going to be coming in, and we're about to get this Formula 3 race back underway for hopefully some more action, a little bit less chaos, more wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side action that we love around Barcelona.
Yeah, so Ivan Dominguez, who has not scored a point at all, he's 32nd in the Drivers' Championship, and he's got a chance of picking up his first win.
Absolutely incredible. That is the scenarios that drivers can find themselves in FIA Formula 3. Let's
Okay, let's go, mate. Let's get these points.
Yeah.
He needs to get these points indeed as we make our way out of the final few corners. We go through turn number 13, heading down to turn number 14, and Ivan Dominguez about to take us to the green flags in Barcelona. The FIA Formula 3 sprint race back underway. Dominguez fighting away with control, but he's going to be able to maintain the position by the time that we get down to turn number 1. Leon having to look in his mirrors. The absolutely fast starting Bruno Del Pino from 20th is going on the charge. He's trying to make this move. He wants another position. Can he go all the way around the outside? He will back out of it. Leon will maintain that position for now. So the order still sees Dominguez, Stromstead and Van Hopen. Leon still having to look in his mirrors to see where Del Pino is attacking, but they are going to maintain order on this restart.
Dominguez's restart was perfect. Now he just needs to bridge out that 1 second margin before the DRS is enabled after this lap. There's one lap of a safety car restart. Without it, it'll be activated on the second lap of that restart. We've just seen, I think that's one of the Williams Academies. It has to be Sandro Giusti, who got by Bruno Del Pino on the restart. Now he's gone past Noel Leon for 8th position. He's very much on the charge of the losing out at the start.
Yep, we make our way through this middle part of the circuit. Very tight stuff as the whole field tries to go. Attacking into Pruvzak, putting some pressure on Louis Sharp at this stage of the race. Is he going to have a chance by the time that we get down to turn number 10? We're going very nearly 3 wide down towards the braking zone. Boyer versus into Pruvzak versus Brad Benavidez. Benavidez just ahead into Pruvzak to the inside. Boyer trying to stand on the power, and it's going to be into Pruvzak, who will still remain side by side, wheel to wheel with Brad Benavidez, who will stand on the power. Benavidez will just be ahead. Into Pruvzak will get blocked momentarily. He's going to have to back out of that one. You're not going to go for that into turn number 13. It means he has to reconsider his plans because his teammate, Mary Boyer, all over the back as we come across the line and make our way down the start-finish straight. And it will be DRS next time by for the chasing pack of Ivan Dominguez. Let's see whether the Camposes will do battle, whether they will switch positions. They look to be going into formation as we see directly in behind. That's going to be late on the break from Charlie Wurz. A late lunge, a great lunge to take the position away from Brandon Badoa.
Yeah, good rig there from Charlie Wurz getting through on Badoa. That's for 17th position. DRS is now enabled. The first time we'll see the DRS open will be on the back straight after turn 9. So Dominguez is almost out of DRS range, but not quite there yet. So he needs to try and bridge that out if he can.
Yep, that's going to be vital indeed. We're going to take a look at a replay. This was how GSD tried to first of all make the move at turn number 4, and then did get by into turn 5, or did at least attempt to, as he went all the way around the outside and standed on the power, and that was position gained and exchange between those two drivers. So now the DRS is open, as we see Kramanic and Bielinski noted for the lap 1 collision that both of those drivers had as well, and that will definitely see a bit of an investigation, and they will see what happened. It might be noted as a bit of a lap 1. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards will do with that one, most likely post-race. It's 0.8 of a second though on lap number 7 of this race. Niall and Sharp have also been noted for lap number 1 at turn number 5, having a collision as well.
Yeah, the timing page is not exactly updating itself as we speak, so we'll hope that will be rectified very shortly. Dominguez, I'm just seeing if he's freezed out enough of a margin on Stromstead, unless Stromstead's got the DRS open. We want to see on the pictures what is going on. There goes Stromstead on Dominguez. Well, that answers my question. He did have the DRS open, did Stromstead, and Dominguez was able to read into it. But that's the thing with the DRS on this pit straight. In Formula 3, it's very, very effective.
It is. It's a long run. The DRS being dished out all the way to the first turn on the circuit. So it often does really, really get close. As we make our way to turn number 4, there's some battling going on further back as well. And it's getting super tight between the field. Into Pruvzak was to the inside of Brad Benavidez. I believe that was the switch that was going on at the moment. But Noah Stromstead doesn't even need to be glued onto the back of Dominguez. The DRS being so powerful, meaning that he still gets the run, he still gets the chance. Boyer and Benavidez have switched positions, so it must have been surely a dive bomb into turn number 5 for Mary Boyer to be able to get past Benavidez, as Benavidez drops down 2 positions to the Camposes, who are both able to power away by. We're on board with Inter Pruvzak, the driver that's currently in 12th position. Needs to gain a couple more places if he wants to try get into the points.
Yeah, so he's got some work to do here as Inter Pruvzak, as does Boyer, who's directly behind. Stromstead will have the DRS behind Dominguez on the pit straight. We want to be going to that battle because I've got a feeling that Stromstead is going to make a move. This is a battle for 3rd place between Lawrence Van Herpen and Santiago Ramos. Ramos will get the DRS open, Van Herpen won't, and Van Herpen will have to go defensive here into turn 1. He'll defend the inside, I would have thought, Slight change of direction. Will he defend again? He will defend, but it's Ramos who goes to the inside. It's turn one. Third position going in the way of the Mexican. Nice move from the Van Sport Racing driver.
Tidy stuff from Santiago Ramos to move up to the final spot on the rostrum at this stage. Van Hopen having to check his mirrors because Nicholas Solov is putting Red Bull all over the back at the moment. As we get down to turn number 4, and Van Hopen right now just is going to have to try and see if we can fight back. Benavides on the radio.
Focus on your driving, mates. Focus on your driving.
Well, someone's not happy with his tyres, but he's still getting the encouragement by the team to continue pushing on. We're expecting lots of drop-off by so many different drivers, but we did see Brad Benavides really in a battle and really attacking, I think, on that restart. So he maybe chewed through those tyres a little bit earlier on. Okay, brilliant move by Santiago Ramos to get through. It was the middle of the road covered, but it was the inside taken still by Ramos. Brave stuff. And hit the apex perfectly to take the position. Absolutely no problem there. Superb driving from him, and that was incredible to see. And now Ramos will see whether he can go and hunt down Stromstead and Dominguez. Of course, Ramos, a driver who denied Stromstead the win at Imola by a race that came down to 0.3 of a second in the feature race.
No, this is tyre management phase now. Is who will be able to look after the tyres, even though we've had that safety car. They're still taking life out of those tyres with all the battling they've been doing. Ramos is able to pull away from Van Herpen since he got that overtake done, but Van Herpen's still able to use the DRS. And now we're looking at the Purvisat round the outside of Louis Sharp into turn number 1 with the DRS open. Sharp will have had the DRS as well because he was within 1 second of Bruno Delpino at the detection point before the pit straight, and that is enough for him to hold on to the position for the time being.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right now, as it stands, 0.9 of a second out in front. What a victory this would be for Dominguez to score his first points, podium and win. I remember Lorenzo Colombo did that at Spa in 2021, I think it was. An absolutely extraordinary race. And he was able to get all of those accolades in one race. So that was a superb performance in 2021 by him as well. So we're approaching the half race distance of this Formula 3 sprint race. We've had a bit of safety car laps. And then we've been pushing on for about half of it as well. We've got the Stenchul and Tramanitz and Belinsky collision, as expected, will be investigated after the race. And we're going to see what they're going to do post-race, and possibly some penalties maybe coming in for the feature race tomorrow as well on Grand Prix Sunday. As we make our way through this end of the lap, the third sector, Bruno Delpino still having to go to work as he tries to put some pressure on Prama's Noel Leon, who is at least giving them something to cheer about, moving up 5 places and in this battle in the top 10, but he might be about to drop down to 10th possibly if Delpino can put a move.
Yep, so there are the top 2. A big gap between them and Ramos, who is continuing to bridge himself further from Van Herpen. And we'll look at Infa Purvisat going for it again, this time on the inside of Sharp into turn 1. Can he get it slowed down? He can, but Sharp is trying to make a switch back through, but the move's done. Infa Purvisat through into P11.
Nice stuff from Tassana Paul into Pruvzak. He was late on the brakes. One Campos has gone by. Does Mari Boyer follow through a couple of meters later? He's got the inside line. Louis Sharp will see another position fade away, and now he's going to have Brad Benavides all over the back of him as well. Does Brad Benavides send it? Does he go for it? Late on the brakes, he'll wait for a traditional overtaking opportunity, and those are a couple of corners to forget for Louis Sharp, who finds himself dropping 2 places to the Camposes right now. Ramos possesses the fastest lap of this race, the driver in third, who's been able to earn himself a little bit of clean air and now has a few seconds to get up the road if he wants to go chase down Stromstead and Dominguez.
Infa Purvisat very nearly dropped it on the exit of Cancer Corner. Took quite a lot of curve, but he drifted his way through turn 9. Boyer is all over the back of him here. I expect to see an overtake from Boyer. I wonder if the Campos team will be on the radio to Infa Purvisat to just not fight Boyer, because after all, they are fighting for points. Even if it is for 1 point or 2, they want every single point that they can get. Nicholas Solov, their teammate, is high up there in 5th place, and Infa Purvisat nearly dropping it again on the exit of the last turn.
Into Pruvzak really having to fight with the car at the moment. Mary Boyer trying to go through as well as we go side by side. Tailfield all round the outside of James Wharton. That'll be tight stuff, and that'll be off the road for the Van Amersfoort car, and he'll rejoin. He'll have to feather out the throttle. You've got Giusti there as well. So Sandro Giusti waiting for his opportunity to get involved. But Wharton really going for it, and he tried to make the move. Now still in 6th position, and Boyer is ahead of Interprovizak. That's 11th and 12th.
Yeah, but every time I see a driver go wide like that and going around the bollard to the left of it, which you are supposed to do, which is part of the race director's instructions, it still feels like you're gaining a lasting advantage when you're coming out of there, because it feels like the gap is bigger than what it was when they went into battle at turn 1. We'll get a replay of it in a moment. Here we go then. So this is Niall on Wharton into turn number 1 there. So he goes to the outside, but just watch the way he comes back on. So it's pretty much neck and neck when they go through turn 1 together, but it's going through the escape road, and there is contact between the pair of them. It's only slight, but I would imagine that Niall will feel that Wharton didn't leave him any room.
Yep, so that one will be debated with our usual racing guidelines of wheel-to-wheel and all of that applies with the FIA. They will definitely be reviewing that one as we make our way out of a final corner around this circuit. So Kamara and Tappinen, we have no further investigation for their contact off the line. This is Lawrence Van Hoopen having to look in his mirrors and see Nicholas Solov getting closer and closer, and let's see whether he can pull the move now. Goes to the outside line. Well, we were here 1 lap ago. This time around, Solov will be able to turn in and take the position. Nice and tidy stuff from Nicholas Solov, able to get by.
That was so close to being contact between the pair of them. That would have been another Belinsky, Tramnitz and Stenchon incident, but thankfully it wasn't. Settlov making his way past Van Herpen for 4th place. The man going for a 6th career victory in this championship, now in 4th place. He's got time to catch Ramos if he keeps it up with the way he's setting the pace. We've lost the timing tower on the left hand side, but we have got the timing page to resort to that we've got. Dominguez's lead is 1.4 seconds at the beginning of the lap. He's out of DRS territory, so which is good news for him. Stromstead is looking content for 2nd place, actually. I don't think he would have expected to be up there compared to where he was on the grid. Ramos will need to be on his toes because Solov will be coming out in like a hawk.
Yep, Solov will be pushing on indeed. We're taking a look at Bruno Del Pino trying to put and chase down Noel Leon, that's directly ahead of him at the moment. That's been a battle that's been going on ever since the start, so let's see whether Del Pino can do anything.
If you're sure, do what you think's best. Yeah, so you really need the brakes to push me off.
I mean,
so that's of course related with the wheel-to-wheel and off-the-road that he had with Wharton. So the team are suggesting do what he thinks is best with that one, as we go wheel-to-wheel once again. Sandro Giusti this time trying to put some pressure on Wharton down to turn 1. Wharton hangs on to it, runs deep into the corner. Giusti tries to get better drive up the hill. Let's see whether he can try and do it. The dirty air now will kick in, and it means he'll fade back away, and will have to still be in 8th position.
Yeah, so Giusti was not able to make his way through. He had to let off the throttle, actually, to make sure they got through together. And now we're looking at Leon and Del Pino for the final points paying positions in 9th and 10th. And Boyer has caught up to the back of this couple as well. He feels there is a chance that he can snatch a point out of this. Mario Boyer, who won here last year in Formula 3 in this particular race. Del Pino getting heavy on the curve there, and that could allow Boyer to be in line to attack on this back straight and have the DRS open and go for a move. Will Del Pino defend it though? That's the question. I don't think he will deal with this time around. It's going to be the pit straight where Boyer makes his way past.
Yep, it looks like that will be the main opportunity. You have that big straight to close in with the slipstream, even if your rival does have DRS as well. Dominguez now has the fastest lap of the race. What a brilliant race to score points, to get a win in this championship, to get your first podium and points along with that, as I mentioned. It would definitely be quite something for Dominguez at the front, but we're still battling through the rest of the field. Sandro Giusti is going to have a chance this time to get ahead of Wharton. Will pull to the outside line, will be much more alongside into the braking zone, and will be able to take the position with ease. Nothing Wharton could do too much there. He'll try fight back. Can he get better traction? You can see that the ART is closing in if you are synced up with us. here on JB Motorsports on lap number 15 out of 21, but GSD does seem to have that position now for keeps at the moment until at least another lap, and we still find ourselves with Bruno Delpino just staying ahead of Mari
Boya. Got to the apex there, knowing that he was never going to leave him. There goes Boya on Delpino into turn 5, and that was a really neat overtake from Mari Boya. That was super stuff from one Spaniard overtaking another.
Yep, absolutely. The two Spaniards wheel to wheel, and that definitely would have got a cheer from the ones who are in that grandstand supporting Mari Boya. Not so much for the ones directly alongside with Bruno Delpino. But yes, the two Spaniards putting on a show. Then Inter Pruvazak's going to have a chance. Inter Pruvazak was going to have a chance. We'll see. We'll cut to that later on, but we'll watch a battle right now. And this was the dive bomb. A superb dive bomb. You needed something to catch your rival out, and he did catch his rival out indeed. So Inter Pruvazak was not able to get ahead, but he will have a chance down the start-finish straight. Noah Stromstead, by the way, has responded to Ivan Dominguez. The gap was 2 seconds. It's now 1.3. It's now 1.2. So that will be a battle that you get to watch near the end of this race. Who's ready for another Mari Boya overtake down the straight, out of the slipstream? No DRS for the Prema, and it means the Campos is going to roar on by into Pruvazak versus Bruno Delpino. Will be a much more interesting battle though. Down to turn number 1. They both had DRS. Delpino maintains the position, but it's offline. Into Pruvazak seeing whether he's got an opportunity to send it around the outside. For now though, he will have to tuck back in and wait for another opportunity, maybe in the middle sector, if he can try catch his rival out, kind of like what Mari Boya did.
Well, Boya's overtake on Leon was slam dunk. He was always going to be taking that place. Now he can just get onto the rear of James Walton, who's another one of those who has yet to score so far this season. Well, even Dominguez's gap is coming down a little bit now. It feels like Stromstead has had enough of managing his tyres. He feels that he can actually take a little bit more risk and get back to within DRS range of the VAR.
He will absolutely feel that. He'll want to go on the charge. He'll want to get a win. He's been second place on 2 occasions so far in FIA Formula 3. Dominguez pushing on hard, and those tyres will begin to start giving up at some point, and it will start to see Noah Stromstead close in. Could it be another battle all the way down to the end of this Formula 3 sprint race as we come across the line? It's 1.1 second, no DRS this time around for Stromstead, but he's beginning to get close, and he is giving himself an opportunity to possibly fight by the time that we get down to the checkered flag as well. So that could be your battle for P1 in the race. Ramos and Solov are separated by 1.8 seconds at the moment. You've got Wharton, who is 2/10 ahead, no longer, because Boya has just cleared him. So Boya moves up to 8th position. Leon is 2/10 ahead of Delpino. Christian Ho's got past Ugo Gachiko, so you've got battles absolutely everywhere across this field at the moment.
Yeah, Boya making a charge, absolutely brilliant charge from Mari Boya, who's clearly been able to manage his tyres very well throughout this one. And now he can go after Sancho Giusti for 7th position. Walton down to 9th, hoping he can remain in the points and get his first of the season. We've had 23 drivers score points so far. There goes Inter Pruvazak on Delpino. That is for 11th place, and Inter Pruvazak doing exactly the same thing to what Boya did on the same driver.
We mentioned that he needed to try catch his rival out, kind of like what his teammate did, and he pulled off the exact carbon copy move as Tom mentions to get past Bruno Delpino. We're taking a look at a replay. This is how Mari Boya took the position away, and Wharton just going straight back to the wheel tracks. Not interested. He knows the pace that Mari Boya currently has. Selling the dummy. That was so tight. Even more dramatic stuff than his teammate Mari Boya, because that was first of all nearly into the back of Bruno Delpino. It was all out of control, and then he just about controlled it down into the braking zone, and there we see Noah Stromstead dropping down the order. At the same moment, we had the Van were off as Stromstead comes into the pit lane. Drama for the man in second place.
They've come together, those two. They've come together at the penultimate turn, or the corner before, it seems, and it feels like Stromstead could well be out of this race, and Ramos is going to be on the rear of his teammate. Well, Dominguez is still in the lead by the looks of it, but Ramos, well, he's not too far behind, but I just wonder whether Dominguez picks up some damage from the contact from the Trident. But that is a very, very bizarre incident. We'll get a replay to find out what exactly happened involving the top two, or they were the top two. Stromstead joining his teammate on the sidelines, and I wonder who's got broken suspension as the the man who had been going for a win here today, second twice this season. Noah Stromstead, the Dane. Yeah, he's going to be absolutely livid with that. We'll get a replay then. It feels... I don't think they actually came together. I'm not sure. I think it's Ramos that actually went off the circuit. So it was not Dominguez who went off the circuit. Ramos went off the circuit, taking evasive action of the ailing Trident. So it was not suspension damage. That's a technical issue.
That has to hurt. Well, we saw Venomous foot off as soon as we cut to it. We were trying to figure out who it was. It was Ramos. It wasn't Dominguez. I was wondering how on earth we saw the gap come down all the way to absolutely nothing, and they managed to collide at the final few corners on the circuit. But for Santiago Ramos, he's now the man in second place. Dominguez is still in the lead. We're not going to get the battle at the front, but it is a Venomous fought 1 and 2 in this race. Unless Dominguez tires really fade away at the end, we're running out of laps in this race. That has to hurt for Noah Stromstead. He did everything right. He preserved the tyres, kind of like he preserved the tyres in the Imola feature race. He got close to 3/10. He couldn't get the win, and he wanted the win today. Meanwhile, we see Christian Ho make the move on Benavides, who fades down to 14th position, and it's not the only battle going on. That is going to be Callum Woyden ahead of the two Premiers, Ugo Gachukwu, Brandon Badoa, both part of the McLaren Academy, and both together on the circuit with Zagazeta in behind as well.
Yeah, Zagazeta looking to make a move on Badoa as they come around. So one incident involving Wharton and Niall. No further investigation involving those two, and I'm not at all surprised. I think the fact that Niall pretty much had his nose in front heading into the corner before he went through the runoff area. This is Charlie Wirtz then, overtaking Ugo Gachukwu into turn 1. That's a 15th position for the Austrian, making his way past. So he's had a quiet race, it has to be said, for Charlie Wirtz. He's not had a lot go for him this season. Now coming around, we're going towards the penultimate lap of this race. Dominguez can just afford to take it very easy in these remaining laps here, because he doesn't need to be pushing here, and Phantom Spot Racing are looking good for yet another win in FIA Formula 3. As we look at Central GST on the rear of the third and final Fan Spot Racing car of Teofil Niall. As they come around, he's got the DRS open, has GST, so let's see if he can close down the gap enough to make a move.
Yeah, let's see whether he can close the gap enough by the time we get down to the first turn of the circuit. Little dart, little look, just trying to be large in the mirrors. I want to see whether Inter Pruvenzak was able to get ahead. Yes, of Noah Leon. Further back, he arrives to the braking zone just ahead of the red and white Prema at the moment. And Bruno Del Pino finds himself now having to see whether he can try and grab himself a spot in the top 10. Leon fading away now and off the road. Actually, he's going to go Del Pino. He runs slightly wide. He's able to keep it together. Looks more dramatic due to of course, the dust. But momentarily running slightly wide, being able to continue on, but not what he wanted. It means that he's all out of shape, and it means that we're going to see Louis Sharp going on the attack, trying to send it all the way around the outside, wheel to wheel. Stuck between these two. Is Louis Sharp going to be able to keep it on the road? Del Pino just leaving him. No more space than he needs to. And Bruno Del Pino is going to maintain that position, but he's offline through this part of the circuit. Louis Sharp gets another chance. He's not going to risk it. Surely into this fast turn as we go to turn number 9, heading down towards turn number 10. Another chance, another DRS zone, another opportunity to close in, to try and make work of the MP Motorsport driver. The yellow flags are flying around this circuit. Louis Sharp trying to send it all the way around the outside, wheel to wheel between these two, and he's nearly off the road once again. A great battle between these two drivers at the moment, and sending it all the way around the outside. Christian Ho is past one. Oh, I thought he was going to get past both of them. Not at this stage. And oh, we've got a tyre off one of the cars, and we are going to have the yellow flags out, and that is going to be Garfias on debut, who's going to find himself with a missing tyre. He's got 3 cars, he's got 3 tyres as he makes his way off the road.
Yeah, I'd love to know your definition of cars, Omi. It's his right rear that's come off. Hopefully that won't cause any trouble. It's off the racetrack anyway, so it's out of harm's way. But what a job this man has done. Ivan Dominguez, looking at where he started, I think he started outside the top 12. I'm just trying to see where he was on the grid. I think he was outside the top 12, and he's come through the field absolutely beautifully to take the race lead early on. And well, no, he started 6th on the grid. My apologies, did Dominguez. But what a job he's done as the Fan Sport crew run out to the pit wall to celebrate not only a win but a 1-2.
This is going to be special stuff. Well, Ramos has closed in at the end, but it was never going to be enough to beat his teammate Dominguez. It will finally be his day in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. Santiago Ramos makes his way through the driver in second place, but all of the attention will turn to the man in the lead, Ivan Dominguez, the driver who currently finds himself 32nd in the championship. He started 6th in the race today. He's through turn number 14. It will be a first point. It will be a first podium. It will be a first win for Ivan Dominguez, who comes across the line to win the sprint race in Barcelona. Santiago Ramos is in second, and Nikola Solov takes P3. And then we have Van Hopen in fourth. Niall, as we see, Louis Sharp getting to the inside of Charlie Words. Can he get by? Charlie Words will be wide, and that will be Louis Sharp making his way through to 13th position. Words having to collect the car at the end to make sure it doesn't go off into the gravel, and that was some late battling. But it's a Van Amersfoort 1 and 2, the Dutch team on the top step, thanks to Dominguez and Ramos.
Super stuff on Van Amersfoort Racing. 2 wins they had before today, make that 3. And that'll help their cause in the Teams Championship for absolutely sure. I think they move in front of ART in the Teams Championship into 5th place on the back of that result, so good job from them. Ramos, with that 2nd place finish, has moved in, well, he was 8th coming into today, 9 championship points, moving in front of Belinsky. He moves also in front of Voisin. So he's up a couple of positions in the championship. We're going to see a replay. This is Jose Garfias, who lost his right rear tyre. I don't know if he had contact before there. That's Gerard Shee, I think. Was it Jesse Carrasquedo who was right behind? In fact, the tyre came off. It hit Carrasquedo's car, and it just went rolling across the track there. Luckily, it didn't go into the bankings where the spectators were sitting at. And yeah, thankfully, the gravel doing its job to take some of the energy out of the tyre rolling across the gravel. We're going to see the camera angle from the curb. Thankfully, it doesn't take any harm from that. And Garfias wisely stopping over at the old Nissan chicane.
Yep, absolutely, as he comes to a halt. But the number 22, Ivan Dominguez, finally getting his opportunity and his chance. That is special stuff for him to be able to get it all in this one singular race. He would have wanted some decent points from 6th. Van Amersfoort now move ahead. 26 points scored in total by them. They go ahead of ART, one of our usual powerhouses of this championship. Let's hear from our race winner.
Let's go. Alex to get the 100 euro bill out of his pocket, eh? Good job.
Incredible. I mean, I think he deserves it after that one. No matter what the reward is or whatever was on the line, I think Van Amersfoort will be absolutely loving life. And let's hear from the man in second, Santiago Ramos.
After class, P2. Yes! Whoa! Vamos! 1-2 for the team, that's what I say. An awesome team, man. Vamos!
Ramos stuff for Ramos there. As Dominguez into position, and he's also joined as well by Nikola Solov, who secures himself to a very nice, consistent 3rd position. Exactly what he needs for his championship, Tom. Nikola Solov just doing exactly what he needs. As we talked about, a driver most likely set for Formula 2, and he'd love to go there as the champion of Formula 3.
Absolutely. And looking at the racecraft then for the drivers, as Dominguez climbs out of his car and celebrates his first points, podium and win all at the same time. Something which David Schumacher did in Austria in 2021. That is quite a feat actually, but that's FIA Formula 3 for you. Dominguez 6th to the win. Ramos 8th to 2nd. Solov 11th to 3rd. Van Herpen 10th to 4th. That is quite a change from the top 4 that we had on the grid at the beginning of today.
Yep, I mean, it shows you how you need to keep your nose clean in this championship, and results can come like that. Even if you do not have the best of paces across the season, you can find yourself. If you are able to avoid the collisions and avoid the contact. Every driver is talented enough to lead from the front of the field and maintain it, and definitely get to a podium. Dominguez showing his talent to get to the win, and the emotion as he got out of his Dallara built machine on top of the car as he went into the hands of his team, and this is going to be a big confidence boost. He'll try kickstart his season for proper from this point onwards, and it'll all start with the feature race tomorrow. Then we'll go for a little break, and then of course we'll head over to Austria and Silverstone for a double header. Then it'll be another few weeks off until we go to Spa and Budapest for a double header, and then of course we have the summer break and the championship. Then after that we'll only have one more round remaining, and that's at the brilliant Temple of Speed, which is Monza. The best finale possible, the biggest brawl of the year takes place at Monza, and I cannot wait to see what we are going to have in store for us then, as we see the celebrations properly start to kick in for Van Amersfoort. What a moment it is. Nikola Solov doing brilliantly, as I mentioned, as per usual as well, and Lorenz Van Hoopen doing well in fourth. We already mentioned about him. Terfional good fifth as well, putting three Van Amersfoorts in the top 5. So a great result for Van Amersfoort, a great day for Van Amersfoort, and they will hope to try continue that in Formula 2 later on as well. As right now I'm just seeing the GV3 live timing just started to record. You'll get delayed coverage of that. Next up around Spain is the Porsche Super Cup. You'll get delayed coverage of that one as well later on today. So you'll be able to catch up with everything with the Super Cup before it returns after 5 years. And we'll go racing tomorrow with live coverage of that one. And then of course we'll have the feature race for Formula 3 and Formula 2 with the FG Sprint on later. Action-packed day. And then of course the main event that we're supporting, Formula 1, up there. So lots of action across JB Motorsports. Do let us know your thoughts on all of the action you have seen. And Glenn saying some good hard racing after that hectic start, thanks JB Motorsports. And Mika Hakkinen being mentioned by Mr. Michael as well. And Vamos Louis says Glenn. So great to see all of the support in the chat for the top 3 who are in the cool down room, and we can hear from them now.
Man, at one stage I saw you coming on. No, have to push a bit more.
Aber hier links raak, no?
Look how close Tramnis was there quickly.
And how did you? Yeah, I had 2 cars right in front of me. So this
look at Justy now on the outside. I don't know what happened to him.
I don't know who crashed with Tramnis.
Martinez and Roman.
No, they crashed before, but Tramnis went off in P3 with someone else.
No, he crashed with them, and now the broken suspension.
And he just went off by himself. But he took someone out going off.
Huh?
He took someone else out going off.
Then he took Justy.
Yeah, probably because this happens too much this year, no?
My helmet on the top looks so good.
Mine too, bro.
What is
we
that?
both have the flag.
What is that model?
Great to hear from our top 3 in the cool down room, briefing and understanding what took place on that opening lap. They're all able to understand that and get to properly live it, because they were the ones who were flying past all of the chaos. So at the moment they're all just focused on trying to avoid it and trying to get themselves up the order, and luckily they were able to do so, and now they get the opportunity to sit back, enjoy and relax as they watched all of the chaos unfold, as we're about to get onto this podium around Barcelona with the driver of Nikola Solov, the record breaker from Monaco, now another podium sitter in Spain. Driver in second place, of course, Santiago Ramos from Mexico. He's another driver putting on a consistent season. It's not really been a consistent season for Dominguez, but it's one where he's able to earn it all in one race. It's his first points, a first podium, and a first trip to the top step of the podium. Van Amersfoort there to congratulate them. great to hear the national anthem for Ivan Dominguez as the caps go back on. The trophies are presented to our deserving top 3. Dominguez will savor that one forever, and he will absolutely love that moment. He can finally call himself an FIA Formula 3 race winner. He's won on an F1 weekend as well. Ramos, another podium, and that one will feel good after the collision he had battling for the win last year. It won't be the win this year, but at least it's something for him to be able to get from Spain, and for Spain to love him back, basically. Great stuff as well from Nicholas Solov at the same time, as we see the top 3 just finding themselves, putting the trophies down and getting to the celebrations in Barcelona on a hot day. Once again, it is great for them to all be able to enjoy as Bruno Michel watches on some of his drivers getting their moment under the sun in Barcelona right before we get to the Super Cup quali and Formula 1 later on as well. But the F3 sprint goes to Dominguez and Van Amersfoort. What a brilliant performance by them, and what a brilliant kickstart to the season Dominguez will be hoping to achieve from going forward. The halfway mark will reach by the end of this round, and that's exactly some of the memories that Dominguez would have wanted from this first half, as they all posed for the photos, and then they can't celebrate too long because, Tom, they've got an important feature race where it all matters, where the Grand Prix Sunday points are handed out, coming up tomorrow.
Yes, and Dominguez, as much as he'll really enjoy this victory, there's still one more race to come. He could even get a bigger chunk of points tomorrow, as he'll start from 5th place on the grid. Time to run down on the final race classification.
It's a race that sees Dominguez end as the winner. Santiago Ramos is in 2nd. Nicholas Solov, the consistent Nicholas Solov, in 3rd. Lawrence Van Hoopen in 4th. Teofil Nile in 5th. DST found him 7th, 6th. And it was home favourite Boyer with some great overtakes today to 7th. Wharton into Pruvazak, and Noel Leon gives Prema at least 1 point to savour this season. Christian Ho is in 11th, Bruno Del Pino in 12th, Louis Sharp in 13th, Dennis Charlie Wurst, Brad Benavides, Callum Boys, and Ugo Igachukwu finished ahead of his teammate Brando Badoa, and then there was Zagazeta ahead of his teammate Lacourt, who was in 20th position, the fastest lap, going to the driver that unfortunately, undeservedly did not see the flag. Gerard G in 21st, Marin Angeli, then it was Carrasquedo, and Jose Garfias, who lost a tyre at the end. Stormstead was the driver with the fastest lap. Then it was Kamara, Belinsky, Senchorn, Tramanit, and Tuukka Tappinen. They all had issues from the race start. Tom, well, final thoughts from this FIA Formula 3 sprint.
I think the last time we've heard the Portuguese national anthem on a Formula 1 race weekend, you have to go back to Hungary 2012 in GP3, where Antonio Felix da Costa won then. It does feel that long since we last heard it, but good to see Ivan Dominguez taking victory on this occasion. Can Van Amersfoort Racing keep it up tomorrow and close down the gap on the likes of Trident and all that? Well, it's safe to say that the top 4, as well as Rafa Kamara, have been in the war today. Well, their loss is the likes of the game for Ramos and Solov. It's game on in the championship again.
Game on for tomorrow. That's it from Formula 3. Next up, Formula 1 practice with Tom Cairns taking you through that in lead commentary. We'll see you tomorrow for the feature.